Thank you for staying tuned. Now, the popularity of medical marijuana is soaring, and among the numerous products consumers are seeking is the CBD, or what they call cannabis oil. There are claims that CBD oils can cure a lot of ailment, even cancer, but research doesn't suggest that cannabis oil should take the place of conventional medication. Simply put, cannabis oil is the concentrate liquid extract of the marijuana plant, Cannabis sativa. Now, according to a new study, the worldwide market for CBD oil is expected to grow at roughly 44.1% over the next 5 years and will reach $2,420 million in 2026 from $270 million in 2020. Now, some African countries like Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and Malawi have legalized the production and export of this commodity. Here in Nigeria, cannabis is grown widely across the country, and despite being an illegal commodity in Nigeria, an estimated 20.8 million people consume cannabis every year, in a market estimated at $15.3 billion. And so with oil drying up and government looking for an alternative source of revenue, could production and export of cannabis be another source of revenue for the country? I'm being joined by the CEO of CBD Oil Nigeria, Lami'ah Momoh, and of course, the Managing Director, Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Ruwani, who joins us via Skype. Thank you, Lami'ah, for joining us. And of course, thank you, Mr. Ruwani, for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Lami'ah, I'll start with you. Narcotics generally is a very negative, a very negative term in both moral, legal, and of course, financial terms. Now, CBD oil is made of cannabis, which is narcotic. Why are you pushing this agenda for cannabis oil? And why at this time?
Thank you for having me first. There's a report by Bloomberg that says that the global cannabis industry is worth a staggering I think it's about $150 billion. Now, before we go on to talk about why I want cannabis legalized, I would like to define what cannabis is, because there's that misconception that you've just mentioned around cannabis, and it has a very, it has a stigma. Now, cannabis goes by a number of names: weed, hemp, marijuana, kush, ganja, pot, and in Nigeria we call it igbo. However, cannabis is a plant. It's an agricultural crop that has two children, marijuana and hemp. Marijuana has a content in it called tetrahydrocannabinol, which is the substance that is responsible for the high and the intoxication that people feel when they take it. Hemp, on the other hand, doesn't have that. However, both marijuana and hemp have tremendous health benefits that cannot be ignored. For instance, marijuana there was a man called Rick Simpson. I'm going to tell you a little story. There's a man called Rick Simpson who had this very rare cancer. And he had tried all sorts of orthodox medicine, and it wasn't working. So he read somewhere in one of the journals that marijuana was very good for mice. It was able to cure cancer in mice. So he went and he made some, because they didn't give him access or authority to get medical marijuana. So he was growing the cannabis plant in his home. And he took it, and he realized that he got well. So he used this same oil. It's now called Rick Simpson oil. He used this same oil to help address over 5,000 different cases, cancer cases, across the world. Now, marijuana is very good for its health benefits. There's another landmark case in London. There's this little boy, his name is Billy Caldwell. He's 12 years old, and he used to suffer from seizures. He used to have about 100 seizures a day. So his mom went looking for a cure for him. And she went to America, got medical marijuana, and she used to give it to her son, and it was making him better. Now, one day she was coming from America, and the UK customs stopped her. And they seized the medical marijuana. After a while, her son went into a fit. There was nothing that could help him. He was in the hospital. And if you look at the pictures, you'll see all the tubes coming out from different parts of his body. So he was just in the hospital, almost dead. So the mom went to petition the UK Home Office, and she told them that, look, this medical marijuana is the only thing that can help her son. Now her son is in hospital. If anything happens to him, she's going to hold them responsible. So eventually, they released the medical marijuana to her. She went to the hospital, gave it to her son was better. So they decided to monitor him. And they monitored him for 300 days. And someone that used to have seizures, 100 seizures every single day, went to having 0 throughout the 300-day period. Because of that landmark case alone, cannabis was legalized in the UK in 2008. And there's so many other cases like that all over America. Quickly, the drug companies took advantage of that and now decided to make an extract from cannabis medicine called Epidiolex. That's the first FDA authorized medicine in the world. So they have that. Apart from that, marijuana is used for a host, numerous health benefits.
Yeah, irrespective of these benefits of the commodity, now medical experts, most medical experts are still, hesitant about the CBD. Why?
No, they're hesitant about the marijuana. CBD, and I'm here to say that I don't take marijuana. I just need to buttress that point. I don't take that's not the reason why I want it. That's not the reason why I'm advocating for it to be legalized. But I take something called CBD. And CBD is a derivative from hemp. Hemp will not does not give that psychoactive effect. It's not there. However, there's so many different products that we use in Nigeria already that are hemp-related. And we're already consuming hemp anyway through hemp seed oil and different, CBD, hemp protein. We use it for our hair. So we already use hemp. Hemp was first sourced for its rich source of amino acid through the seeds. And then they found out that if they break the stalk, the fiber could be used for over 5,000 different hemp-related products. So BMW uses a hemp composite to make their electric cars, the i3. I mean, hemp is used for textiles, it's used for medicine, as I said, CBD oil. I discovered CBD oil because of a health challenge that I had. I was suffering from insomnia for a very long time. And I realized that when I discovered CBD oil, I wasn't even taking it for insomnia. I was taking it for a pain in my foot. So when I discovered the CBD oil, I realized that it was the only product I could take that could help address the insomnia without any negative side effects. And I realized after that, I'm a witness to hundreds of other people that have taken the Sterling Herbal CBD oil, that brand, and it has helped address numerous health ailments. Doctors might not agree, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's all around us. There's a massive cannabis boom right now. And it's in the interest of our government to legalize cannabis because it will be a benefit on every single sector of the economy, from agriculture and the different, the different supply chains.
Right. At this point, I would want to bring in Mr. Rwani to buttress or perhaps talk more about what you've just said. Mr. Rwani, I'm sure you heard Lami'ah. Well, the CBD oil is gotten from cannabis, and here in Nigeria, this is mainly grown in the South region. Now, how much of cannabis does Nigeria grow? And considering its medical potentials, what potential does the industry have to end the country foreign exchange, particularly now we are seriously talking about diversifying the economy? And of course, Lami'ah here is advocating for legalization of this product.
Thank you. Good morning, Chimeze. I listened to Lami'ah, and I think she's quite eloquent and convincing in her arguments. But the reality is that the pressure to legalize marijuana has been driven in the past by people like Peter Tosh, and the stigma of marijuana, as you can see from the slides, highlighted by the movie Scarface and The Godfather. So at times there's a correlation between the narcotic effect, the addictiveness, and the fact that it's prohibited, which creates a premium. And this thing also, it leads to, it's not violence-free. So you can see people like Noriega and in Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Pablo Escobar, and all that. So that is the truth. However, there's also the fact that necessity is the mother of invention. The legalized marijuana market, the legal marijuana market, is small compared to the total marijuana market. So it is true that the illegal marijuana market, which is sold for leisure and other undesirable consequences, is quite bigger than that one. But the legal marijuana market, which is used for medical, for pain management, and for mental disorders, and that is where I think legalizing in Nigeria will help in terms of diversifying our exports. The total market size is estimated to get to about $73 billion in the year 2027. The structure of the market is oligopolistic. There are few suppliers and many buyers. And it is used for legitimate and legal reasons. And when you take that, if we get 10% of that or 20% of that market, we'll be talking about almost $14 billion if we can get 20% of that market. Don't forget, right now, we are the 4th largest producer of cocoa. And if you look at our profile of our exports and receipts, oil is bringing in about 25.5, maybe because the price of oil has gone up. It's gone up to about $30 billion this year. Diaspora remittances is giving us about $23 billion. And that is going to reduce because some of our people are going to be laid off in the high unemployment. Then after that comes LNG and cocoa. So if you have legalized marijuana coming in at 20% of that, and we get about $14 billion, then it will actually help diversify, one, our revenue base, and two, it will also create jobs. But how do you manage it in such a way that the unintended consequences, the addictiveness and the other things that I talked about, that when you're producing it, some of your people in this country do not start to consume it for the wrong reasons? Do we have the law enforcement? Do we have the infrastructure, institutional infrastructure, to manage it so that it doesn't get out of hand? And so I think that is one point. The second point is that if you look at the history of prohibition in the world, the key areas of prohibition in the past, in the 20s, 30s, whiskey prohibition under Tammany Hall and all that, produced the likes of Al Capone, Charlie Lucky Luciano in New York, Al Capone in Chicago, where there was a lot of violence. Then the gambling prohibition until it was legalized in Nevada, Then you have the narcotics itself, which is part of the mafia and the Cosa Nostra secret and all that. So you had whiskey prohibition, gambling prohibition, narcotics prohibition, prostitution prohibition, and loan sharking. Every time you prohibit something, you increase the premium because people become desperate. These products are usually inelastic. People want it, and they want it badly. They will do anything to get it fixed. So how do you manage this? And you see what has happened is that from the time whiskey was now legitimized, the level of crime and the mafia activities in the United States and Sicily actually declined sharply. That is not to say that then you had other mobs, the Russian mob, the Cuban mob, and all of that coming to take over. But having said that, for Nigeria, if we participate only in the legitimate cannabis export market, we stand to benefit significantly, and that will also help in terms of minimizing our vulnerability to external shocks, build up things, but we cannot jump into it without understanding what the consequences are. If you start producing it in large scale, how do you protect and prevent your kids from doing this? So we had the same problem with cigarettes, whiskey,
Yeah, Mr. Irwani, let me come in here. When the governor of Ondo State, Rotimi Akeredolu, first indicated that the state may explore cannabis cultivation for medicinal purposes in controlled plantations in the state, it raised a lot of eyebrows because, of course, this is not a legalized commodity. But looking at some African countries that have legalized this and are exporting it, are there lessons to be learned from them in terms of regulation or managing the legalization of this commodity?
Well, I like that question in the sense that when you look at Zimbabwe and Lesotho, which are the two countries you mentioned earlier, they have, in spite of the economic problems of Zimbabwe, which are well documented and known, but they have very advanced institutional frameworks. The ZANU-PF it was a liberation movement turned political party under the iron fist of the late president, Mugabe. And so you find that, does Nigeria have the network and the political and the, enforcement capacity to actually ensure that this thing is produced mainly for exports, is produced and kept legitimately so that and prevent addiction? But the other argument, on the other hand, is that, look, people are already consuming this thing. This thing is, you can get it for 1K or 500 naira for a joint out there. So are we, in trying to enforce the prohibition of narcotics in Nigeria, is it working? Or is it not already a problem? Can't we just take the good with the bad? Since we already have the bad, can we now legitimize it, structure it, and use part of the revenues we earn from it to actually build the infrastructure for enforcement to maintain this? I think, quite frankly, it's something that we cannot afford to ignore at this time. It's an imperative. It's an economic and also a medical imperative for Nigeria at this time.
All right, Lami'ah, we've heard from Mr. Rwanda, but I'm more interested on the medical aspect of this. Now, the world is scrambling for a cure for COVID-19. Perhaps, would CBD oil be an option to look at?
I make no medical claims, but we stand on testimonials of people that have come back and given, are testified to taking CBD oil and what it does. I will not sit down here and tell you that it is a cure for COVID-19, but I do know that some studies are being carried out in Israel right now to find out if cannabis oil will be a cure for COVID-19. So there are people that are trying to research into that. There's a lot of research going into that right now. So I don't know. I don't want to say things that I'm not sure about. So I don't know if it will cure COVID-19, but I know that it boosts the immune system. So in that aspect, it boosts the immune system, yes. But is it a cure with that in inverted commas? I don't know at this point.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Rwanda, looking at the market share of this commodity or this product, what do you think would be the outlook eventually?
I would say that at this time, because of what's happening, the economy is challenged at this time. Any form of exports, any form of commercialization of an export that can be, will help us, because right now we're having a balance of trade deficit of about almost estimated at about $3 to $5 billion, and it's expected to grow much faster. So we need to do that. So if we, like I said, if we get 10–20% of the market share of this, and we cultivate it commercially and bring in partners and everything, then it's likely that we could grow, and it could boost growth, it could boost employment, and as long as we manage the side effects of not having it distracting our kids, becoming addicted, and increasing domestic crime, because this product, because of its intoxicant effect, intoxication effect, could actually lead to violence, domestic violence and other things. I think this can be managed. So in Jamaica, they had a lot of problems. Some claim it has induced and helped build their music industry. One is not too sure whether it's cause and effect, or it's whether the Jamaican music actually originated from their slave heritage and all of that. But this also enhanced it because they use it to actually calm themselves down. But again, I don't want to go into the argument of whether to legitimize cannabis or marijuana or not, but I'm saying that the legal marijuana market has to be monitored. We've had some countries like Afghanistan, where the level of violence in Afghanistan, everything rotates around opium and the poppy flower. We've seen that in Pakistan, the Taliban. And so, Chimizi, I think the issue is that if we can manage all of it, then it's something that we should look at. It could actually improve our exports as much as 15 to 20%.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rwanda. Now, Lami'ah, a quick one before I let you go. Is there something else consumers should know about consuming the CBD oil? Because, I mean, some of the claims here are not substantiated by any research or something.
Well, the World Health Organization said that CBD oil does not give any negative side effects. And they did mention a few elements that it can help with, potentially. They know it helps with cancer, and then it can help with some other things, potentially. But I'd also like to buttress on the fact of what Mr. Rwanda said in relation to legalizing cannabis will help the economy of Nigeria, because first and foremost, it will help the agricultural economy. Every segment of the supply chain, from seed to sale, will open up doors for opportunities. It will also open up doors for investors to come in, because they say we have the best strains in Nigeria. So it will open up doors for them to come in and invest, bring in their money and their expertise, training our people on cannabis, how to extract it and the processing and all of that, which we don't know. It could also be the catalyst to revitalize the rural communities that are economically marginalized.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lami'ah. Well, let's just hope the government may perhaps begin to consider that. Thank you, Lami'ah Momoh, the CEO, CBD Oil Nigeria, and of course, Mr. Bismarck Rwani, the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we look at the markets and, of course, an opening call to London. Just stay with us.